These fried mac and cheese balls are crispy on the outside but filled with creamy mac and cheese on the inside. I think they're a great way to use up leftover mac and cheese, or completely worth it to make from scratch. Welcome to Recipes by Karina, where I share with you how to make classic and simply delicious recipes. Make sure to subscribe for a new video each week. The first thing you're going to need to make these fried mac and cheese balls is, of course, mac and cheese. Like I said, this is a great way to use up leftovers, or if you don't have any, it's easy enough to make a batch especially for this recipe. I have a video for how to make mac and cheese which I will have linked, as well as the full recipe listed in the description box below. If you really want, you can make some box stuff, but I really don't think the taste or texture even compares to homemade. It's best to leave the mac and cheese in the fridge overnight, as this allows the cheese sauce to set up so you can actually work with it rather than it turning it into a sloppy mess. When it's set, use a knife and start to cut the mac and cheese into squares. I'm going for about 5cm or 2-inch pieces, which will be a little bigger than bite size, but you can cut them smaller if you would like. If you'd like the full recipe for these mac and cheese balls, it will be on my website, as well as the full measurements listed in the description box below. Let me know in the comments if you're going to try out this recipe and what your favourite dipping sauce would be. I'm thinking something spicy, but something sweet or tomatoey would also work just as well. Once you have sliced the mac and cheese, get your oil onto the heat. I'm using a large heavy base casserole dish here, as it will hold the oil at a steady temperature, but you can also use a large saucepan or deep fryer if you have one. You'll need a few litres of oil, or just enough so the mac and cheese can just about be submerged. Make sure to use a flavourless oil here, one that's best for frying like canola, sunflower or vegetable. Heat it up to about 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's best to use a thermometer to check this. They're not too expensive to pick up if you don't have one, and I find it useful for so many different things. While the oil is heating up, start to shape your mac and cheese, pressing it together. It's pretty important not to skip this step, as we're compressing it to make sure it all sticks into a ball and doesn't fall apart during the crumbing stage. You can keep it in a square shape, roll it into more of a ball, or just round off the edges like I'm doing here. From the mac and cheese I had left over, I'm getting about 9 portions. I had probably used about 1/3 and had 2/3 left. So if you're using the whole mac and cheese recipe, you should have about 14 to 15 depending on the size you are making. This as well is just a simple mac and cheese recipe, so you can pair them with a bunch of different dipping sauces, or they're still delicious on their own. It's also easy to add a little bit more flavour, either to the mac and cheese recipe or while you're rolling them out. A few favourites would be bacon pieces, jalapenos for a little spice, or seasonings like Cajun for a different flavour. When you've finished rolling them, set them to the side while we get together the crumbing ingredients. You'll need a couple of shallow bowls, one for egg and one for breadcrumbs. Usually when you're crumbing you would need one for flour too, but the egg actually sticks pretty well to the mac and cheese that there isn't really any need. In one bowl, crack in a couple of eggs. There isn't really specific measurements here, more ingredients that you'll need, and you may end up needing more depending on how much you are crumbing. Use a fork to whisk together the eggs until you've combined the yolks and whites. Try to use shallow bowls here rather than standard, as they work so much better for crumbing. You have room to easily turn the mac and cheese balls over, as well as being able to scoop the breadcrumbs up and over them. You'll need about a cup of breadcrumbs. Pour it into the second bowl. I'm going for panko as I find they're crispier and have a better texture, but you can use standard breadcrumbs or a mix of the two if you would prefer. Start by taking your mac and cheese ball and dipping it in the egg. Turn it around, making sure all sides are covered. Drain the egg off as much as possible before placing it in the bowl with the breadcrumbs. Turn and cover it, pressing the breadcrumbs in so they stick well. We're going with 2 coats here. It helps to enclose the mac and cheese so you don't have any cheese leak out while it's cooking, while also giving it a thicker crumb coat which makes it crunchier and of course more delicious. Continue with the remaining until you've coated all of your mac and cheese balls. You may need some extra breadcrumbs or egg here depending on how many you're making and how big they are. Check your oil, making sure it's around 180 or 350 degrees. I like to test one first, making sure the temp and timing are right, but you should be able to cook about 5 or so at once depending on the size of your pan so it doesn't drop the oil temperature too much. Drop the mac and cheese ball into the oil using a slotted spoon and leave it to cook for about 3 to 4 minutes or until it's golden brown on the outside. I like to turn it around a few times just to make sure all the sides are getting evenly coloured. Make sure to drain them well on paper towels before serving. I like to sprinkle with some flaky salt and serve with a range of dipping sauces. They're such a delicious snack and a great dish to share around. I hope you try out this recipe. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video.